All right, hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Brandon Tobias. It's great to have you here on this channel. If you're new to me, my job as a professional channeler is to help you reach your highest and greatest goals in this lifetime in the areas of health, wealth, and most importantly, true love. Now, this reading, this channeled message, this channeled audio recording, whatever you want to see it as, is designed to help you find clarity within yourself, within your soul at this moment in time when it comes to specifically, God is saying, your love and life situation. Okay, so this has to do directly with your love and or relationship situation. However, if you're watching this and you don't have a relationship or a person and you have no idea what I'm talking about, then God still wanted you to see this message because it might relate to a different area of life that has its emotional you have an emotional entanglement with, okay, such as family, friends, boss, coworkers, etc. So take it as it resonates, but for most of you this will apply for clarity directly in your love and life situation. If you're new to me, my name is Brandon, and I'm here to give clarity in this type of situations. Why God sent me here on this earth to be a channeler for all of you watching. And the way it works is I channel directly for the audience watching this particular video. So if you found this video, your guides sent it to you. Your guides sent it to you directly because they knew this message would pertain to your situation. So without further ado, let's get into the channeled message and recording. Calling in this moment in time, God, the angels and guides who serve unconditional love and light in this moment in time for the collective. What is the message you'd like for me to share with everyone watching in this moment in time for the highest and greatest good in this particular moment? Okay. The first thing, so I don't know if you all caught that, but as I was opening the ceremony, there was this weird, random cough slash itchiness in my throat just for a second. And the first thing I heard as I felt that energy was distraction. Okay, for all of you watching, that right now there might be a distraction or something in your life right now that is keeping you from either focusing or believing on where you're meant to go or where you're meant to go, generally speaking. And the guides are telling me to tell you that not to get distracted, okay, by things that are not important to who you want to be, where you want to go, and where you're headed ultimately. The best question that you can ask right now from my guides and angels to tell you is where you want to head. Where you want to head ultimately right now in this lifetime. Okay, in the lifetime you're in, where is it ultimately you want to head? Okay. Secondarily, what are the things that I need to do, be, attain, have, or become now to be in that place that I'm ultimately heading now in this lifetime? Okay. And what I'm hearing is there are only a few things. Okay. There are only a few things that are majorly important to that destination, to where you're going in your love and life reality. Okay. And your job, dear viewer, is to figure out what those things are, to identify them, to write them down, and to stick to them no matter what. Okay? This is a calling for you watching that anything or anyone outside of your particular list, call it 3 or 4 things, okay, at most. Your particular list, anything outside of your particular list to be, do, or become where you're meant to head in this lifetime is not allowed in your life, not allowed in your field. Okay. It's important for you to say no to those things, no to those people, no to those circumstances. Okay. That do not correlate with where you're meant to head. And this is a real thing that the guides are showing me, is that many of you watching might have incoming invitations or opportunities, or people offering you things and things like that, that may look good, right? That may look good, that may look appealing. You might have gone, oh, that looks pretty decent. That looks pretty interesting. That looks fun, that looks exciting, etc., etc. And what God has called me to say at this moment is like, it's very possible that those things or that thing is not what you are meant to head towards, or not meant to help you head towards where you're meant to be. Okay. It's right now is a really good time to practice what they call is discernment. Okay. Discernment in your life and love circumstances. Okay. And the only place you can find discernment, or the way you can find discernment if you're watching this, is deep, 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 deep inside of your belly. Okay, not in your mind, not in your other parts of your body, not even sometimes in your heart, because your heart is a big emotional open field, right? And so the heart will often lead us into areas that are that feel good or feel right emotionally, but then are maybe not completely directly tied to our path also in life, right? So and there's a saying, there's a quote in the Bible that says something along the lines of, your heart can lead you astray. And while I'm generally a huge believer in the heart and trusting your heart, I do agree that sometimes it can. Sometimes temporarily it can lead you astray into situations where it may feel good emotionally, but it's not where your path is going, if that makes sense. Okay. So it's important to discern that. And you can use the heart, though, like in conjunction with other parts of your body, but you have to be grounded. And so the whole point of this message right now is discernment comes from being grounded, and being grounded comes from being rooted inside of your lower belly. And what I mean by being rooted in your lower belly, okay, because I like to get very concrete with these spiritual terms you hear, is you actually bring your consciousness down. Like right now, you can do it as an exercise if you'd like. You bring your consciousness down into your lower belly, and you can even like slightly squeeze your lower abdomen just a little bit. And what this does, this connects your upper levels of consciousness. Okay. You can call it even your higher self or your upper levels of consciousness down into your kind of human reality path blueprint as a soul. Okay. And these are really two different realities. You've probably heard of, spiritual people like myself being way up here, ungrounded in the higher realms for sure. And you probably know people like that. And then there's also the opposite, where people are way too in the human reality, right? And so if you're watching this, it's very important, my guides are sharing with me, to balance both. But most of the people I'm watching to are actually more up here. I mean, it's no surprise. I am a Love and Life Tarot channel here. Uh, so it would make sense that my audience needs to be a little more grounded. But it's important to understand what that actually means, because a lot of spiritual people like myself don't always know what the term grounded means. And they say, well, you just go outside and you're grounded. And to some extent, that's true. But it's more of an internal energetic placement, or energetic alignment, I would say, within yourself, where you can bring your consciousness down, squeeze your lower abdomen just slightly, and connect with the lower half of yourself. And when you do that, you're actually connecting more with your sacral and root chakra. And when you connect more with your root and sacral chakra, you connect more with your body and your body's natural intuition. Okay. And one of the things I do, because I'm a spiritual coach as well, in addition to this content, if you're new to me, is I help my clients, mostly female clients, actually, majority of female clients, connect with their body, connect with their feminine or their female intuition. That's where the feminine energy has the most strength, is actually with their bodily intuition. Okay. And men actually, or the masculine, has a better strength of connecting to up here, right? God, the divine source, etc. Both can obviously do it. I obviously have a practice where I connect with my feminine intuition as a guy, but that's where each strength lies, the masculine and the feminine. So wherever you are watching this, it's a calling to connect to that lower part of you. And what that does is it really kind of keeps out all of the noise and keeps out all of the distractions that can come from the outside world, even the outside spiritual world. Okay, because believe it or not, if we are ungrounded, generally speaking, we are also subject to a lot of what I call, as a spiritual coach, spiritual noise, where there's all sorts of energies and people's energy and entity energy and all sorts of things that can kind of interfere with us, right? But our one defense against that is rooting down into the body and kind of saying, no, this is our path, this is where we go. And it cuts out all the noise and it gives us our concrete direction. So I want you to try that. If you haven't tried it already, pause the video and kind of do it, right? Go into your belly and cut out all the noise and say, what are my top three or four things that I need to be, do, or have in my life right now to get to where I want to go? Okay. And if you want to do it also in conjunction with this, or if you haven't done it already, it's important to ask the question, well, where am I ultimately headed in this lifetime, right? What am I ultimately meant to do, or what do I ultimately want to do in this lifetime? And what, again, are the 3 or 4 things right now that I need to do? And you can ask God or source for that, whatever term you believe in. But there is an energy, a consciousness you can ask. You can call it God, Yahweh, source of all that is, was, never will be, creator, the energy of all. Okay, you can ask God. I just call it God for, for reference sake. But you can ask God for clarity in what you're meant to be and do. Okay, ultimately, and then you can ask yourself what you need to do to attain those things. Okay, so the one thing I'll tell you is the way to use this is, well, God is the energy of all, consciousness of all in the universe, right? So that energy knows, and it's a masculine energy, so he knows what the plan is, or what you need to know in order to get to where you need to be, right? The fun part about life, though, is that we as humans get to basically create our path to get there. Okay. So God can tell you basically where, if you access him, right, he can tell you where you're meant to be, where you're meant to go. But one thing he can't really do, or even your guides or angels are limited at, is telling you like exactly specifically what to do in order to get there. Right. And I think that's a message for all of us watching, all of you watching, and all of me. I'm always included in this as well, because it's, yeah, I'm a human too, right? All of us watching is, we're not, like, if you're waiting for your guides or angels or God or something else to tell you how specifically to do something, it's a waste of time. Okay, it's a waste of time, and it's also a waste of energy, because there is nothing in this universe that wants to or is meant to tell you how specifically to do, be, or know where you're meant to go, or how you're meant to do it, right? You are ultimately meant to know what you're meant to end up to be and do, okay, at some point. And maybe you don't know yet, that's okay. At some point, maybe you've had feelings or visions or thoughts or just an inner knowledge since you were a child, right? A lot of us know ultimately where we're meant to go or what we're meant to do. We just don't know how, right? We don't know how and what the path is to getting there. And the reason why we don't know how is because it is free will. It is up to us to create. It is up to us to determine each and every step towards that destination. Okay? So God wants us all to know that is subject to you. Okay? You are the person, you are the being that is meant to create the way towards your ultimate destination. Yes, you have an ultimate destination that God has preordained, the universe has preordained, but you are the one that is meant to take steps and determine how to take those steps to that ultimate destination. Okay? There are many different paths, there are many different roads to the same destination. Okay? Like many different types of job and career sets, right? You can be meant to be, like, here's one example. It's like you're meant to be a singer. You're meant to be an opera singer someday. Maybe some of you are meant to be an opera singer someday. I don't know. And but the path to getting there, you're like, okay, well, I know I'm meant to be that, but how do I get there? And then your human self has to ask the question, well, what do I need to get there, right? We do the exercise that we did. And then the first thing that comes to you might be money or security. Okay, I need money, security. I need to find a way to provide for myself. Okay, well, how do I do that? Well, one person might decide, oh, I'm going to be a firefighter. Okay. The other person might decide that they're going to be a piano teacher, right? Um, and they do that, develop their security, and use that path or use that security in order to develop the confidence in whatever way that needs to happen through each of those different paths to get closer and closer and closer to becoming their ultimate goal of being an opera singer or an opera performer. Right? So you get to choose how and which way you get to go in order to get closer to your path. And you might sit there and decide, well, maybe it makes more sense for me to be a firefighter versus a piano teacher in order to get to my path, right? Just one example. But you notice that it's not like in that decision, you had the choice and you had the sovereignty, right? It wasn't like your guides and angels said, you must do this or you must do that. This is how specifically you get there, right? You decided that. All your guides and angels and God did is tell you that you're meant to be an opera singer someday. So you figure out how. Now, you can always ask yourself and ask your guides and angels, like, well, what's your suggestion? You could always do that. Okay. But I got to be careful here because a lot of people confuse and this is what they're telling me to say, is like a lot of people confuse their guides and angels suggestions with what they should actually do. Okay. And what happens when that happens, again, according to the guides right now, is like what happens when that happens is people become a little confused. And they say, well, I kind of feel like I should do this, but I'm not really too sure. And I'm not getting any concrete evidence, right, that is the thing to do in order to get to my direct destination. And that's because the guys are saying, yeah, because it was just a suggestion. It's not like you have to do it that way, right? You can do it any sort of other way you choose to do it. But you asked us for a suggestion. So we're going to give you a suggestion on one of the ways, right? Maybe hopefully one of the better ways to get to where you are meant to go. Okay. Does that make sense? So when you ask your guides and angels, particularly about questions about like what you should do and how you should do it, that they are only allowed to give you suggestions. The reason why they're only allowed to do that is because you have free will. Okay, because you are your own sovereign creative being, creator and creative being. Okay, you are part of God. You are part of the force that has created this universe. So nothing can tell you what you should concretely, specifically do. You have to determine that for yourself. And that is how you step into your creative energy, your creator energy, right? When we talk about what that is, again, the definitions here, creator or creative energy, that is not necessarily like being an artist, right? Or I'm stepping into my creative energy and so I'm becoming an artist. I think that's great if you are an artist, but the point is that's not truly creator energy. When we say creator energy, it means you stepping into your ability to create your path and create your life. You see? And most people, I would honestly say 98% of people on this planet, somewhere around there, 98% are not in their creator energy. They don't know how to access it. They don't know what it is. They aren't even aware that it exists. Okay. Our society is not built for like the majority of people to be in their creator energy. It's built for people to be in their autonomous energy, right? Asleep or autonomous energy, which is basically like I'm not a creator. I'm just going. I'm just going along the path, and I have no autonomy here. It's just a path that's set for me. So this is a kind of an awakening, bit of a rude awakening to all of you watching, myself included, who may not have realized, okay, that may not have realized your ability or your power to do that. Part of the reason for this is it's a very scary thing. It's a very intimidating thing to realize that you yourself have the power and the creative ability, and thus also, by the way, the responsibility to create your path and create your choices and create your life over and above like it being auto-directed by anything, whether that's God and your guides and angels, whether that's a boss, whether that's, your family, etc. And by the way, us spiritual people can also do that same thing. Just, we might do it to God. I've done it many times. Like, God, well, what am I meant to, like, can you tell me specifically what I'm meant to do right now? Right? And I get so frustrated sometimes because, of course, I don't get the answer all the time. And I've had to deal with it. And I go, what the heck, I thought I'm supposed to have access to all this information. I'm a channeler, right? And it's like, no, you are also a human, and you also are creating your path, not just being directed by me, right? Okay. So so this message and this channeled audio is about you stepping into the path that your body and that your soul need you to do or be or have or become in this moment in time. The top 3 or 4 things that will directly get you to where you're meant to be and who you're meant to be and where you're meant to go ultimately in this lifetime. And I'd love to hear if you want to share, and your guides would want you to know, or want you to share, like, what those 3 or 4 things are, right? If you just want to share 1 or 2 of them, that's great. In the comments below, if you want to share all of them, that's great. But what are those 3 or 4 things, or even 1 or 2 things, cutting out all the noise, where you can say, I am hyper laser focused. These are the things that will get me to where I want to go. And by the way, I choose, okay? I chose and I choose those 2 or 3 things, or those 3 or 4 things, right, to get me to where I want to go. I, as a human, am using my creative ability, my creator power, my sovereign ability, my power as God within, to create the path that I have in front of me that will lead to the life that I ultimately want, whether that's wealth and abundance, true love, and family, etc., etc. Okay. It is also important to know, too, that we all have a path. Okay. A lot of you watching, I feel, might also have said to yourself at some point that you don't have a path, or that you don't have a person, or that you don't have a destination. Okay. Maybe not all of you, but this is definitely a percentage of you watching have said this to yourself. And maybe you've convinced yourself that, you are just here. Okay. And the truth is that that's not the truth. The truth is that when you do that, right, if you've done that, or when you do that, you are simply disconnecting yourself from that reality within, right? Your deeper inner reality. Maybe, again, for a lot of you, it was too painful to look at. It was too much. It was too overwhelming. Maybe you had other life circumstances to deal with and you didn't want to look at that, right? And it was easier to just say, I don't have a destination. I don't have a this. I don't have a person. All the things. But that's not the case, right? And it's okay to be temporarily disconnected, to just exist and experience what that's like. But I promise you, if you go back in and connect yourself to your human self, your real self, okay, your body, your soul down here, and you ask also God for clarity or confirmation about where you're ultimately meant to head, okay, you will find that you have a path, you have a destination, you have a point of existence. And also, there are things for you to be, do, have, or become to get you to where you're ultimately meant to be. Okay. The only people that are, they have an excuse for this. And I don't think any of you watching this who will qualify for this, but this is how what I'm saying won't apply, is if you've already become everything that you've ever wanted to become or have or be or do in this lifetime. There's nothing else that you feel, if you connect down, that you want to do or be, or that you're ultimately meant to become. And you've just completed yourself. You've completed life. You've completed the purpose of your existence, and you're living it. In which case, you would not be watching this video, I assure you. Okay. If you're watching this video, you absolutely have more, or you have somewhere else you're meant to head. And there are certain things to do to connect to within yourself in order to get to that destination, in order to bridge the gap. And the message here to remember is you get to create how you bridge that gap. And you can ask God and your guides and angels for suggestions, but they are only suggestions because you have the power and the responsibility to create your path to where you're meant to go. Okay, there's no other way. But God is saying right now, directly, there is no other way for you to cross that path. Okay, there is no other way for you to cross that path as to where you are now and who and what you're meant to be ultimately in this lifetime, right? The gap between those two areas, there's no other way to cross that gap besides you creating the way towards that reality in the way that you specifically want and you specifically choose to do it. Remember, we used the examples and they were polar opposite for a reason, right? One person is meant to become an opera singer. So one person, the path they choose to get there is to become a firefighter. The other path they would choose or is to become a piano teacher. And the reason we said is because both ways might give them security or financial security and stability, but also develop a confidence within them in different ways that they might need or choose or deem best for them to become ultimately an opera singer. Two very different paths, same destination, okay? And the same person could choose either one of those paths to get to that destination, and that person is you. That same person is you. You have the ability to choose whatever different path you want to choose in order to get to your ultimate destination. So I will ask you this, and I will leave you with this. What path do you choose? If you are the one responsible for getting yourself or creating the path to your ultimate destination, what path do you ultimately choose to become, be, have, and create the life that you'd like to live on this planet? If you know in your heart and mind and soul, nothing else and no one else at all can possibly design or choose or dictate what or the way you're meant to get there, if you know that in your heart, mind, and soul, then what is it that you decide? What is it that you choose? And you are welcome, by the way, to ask your guides and angels and God for suggestions, but they are only suggestions. At the end of the day, you must say, this is the way. I choose this because I want to experience that, and I believe it's the best way to get to where I want to go. And then you go. And without that, God is saying, without that particular self-determination, that self-creative ability, you won't get to where you want to go. You have to, this is a requirement, God is saying. It's a requirement right now for those of us watching to step into that way of being, to take ownership over your own creative or creator ability and to create the path ahead. Okay. And it may again feel uncomfortable or very different to how you've operated in the past. But God is saying this is a very important wall/lesson for you to overcome in order for you to get to the next level of who you're meant to be in this lifetime. Okay. That is the end of the channeled messages. So thank you so much, guides and angels and God, who serve unconditional love and light, for the ability channel for the wonderful audience here. I really appreciate all of you watching as well. I hope this message was helpful to you. Again, let me know in the comments below the top 3 to 4 things you feel you need to do right now if you feel inclined to share. If you liked this content, you appreciate this content, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want more content just like this. And I really look forward to working with all of you in the future. Let me see, is there going to be no, there's no extended video for this reading today. But again, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to subscribe and like this video for more content just like this. Because if you do like it, it tells YouTube you want to see more of my content in the future. And then it will show you the content. So if you feel like, hey, you know, my guides are connected with Brandon here and they're sharing what I need to know through him and God has directed me to him, then be sure to like that video. And I will be sure to pump out more content when the time is right for all of our highest good. Thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you guys and gals on the next one. Bye for now.